Can you see? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes. Hello.
Hello,
Namaste.
how are
I'm
you doing?
Shanti. I'm good. Sorry I missed yesterday.
No
I was,
worries.
still under the weather a little bit. I feeling better. I just have a little bit of cough. How
Hopefully,
are you
that's.
feeling?
I'm better. I'm much better. Good. You
Oh,
should recover soon. If you are already getting better, means.
yeah. Yeah. Just a little cough left. I'm getting stronger each day.
Good, good, good. Take good care of your health and
Yeah.
just attend however much is possible for you. Don't push yourself too much.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
I didn't submit all the assignments from the last session because I didn't complete my course. I'm waiting to attend more classes and then
Yeah, you can do the assignments which will be shared at the end of this month rather than the ones that were shared at the end of
yes,
last. So that will be better for you.
yes.
Great. So let's begin our session for today. Sit comfortably.
Okay. Yeah.
Sit comfortably, keep your back and neck straight. And when you feel ready, very gently close the eyes. Start connecting with. Observe the natural flow of your breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Now gently shift your attention to your body. Check your posture, align your back. Make sure that your weight is balanced equally on both your hips. And your entire body should be comfortable, relaxed, and stable. Now very gently come back to your breathing and begin to elongate the breath, going for slow, long and deep inhalations, slow, long and deep exhalations. We will open today's session by chanting Om 3 times, followed by the Guru mantra. So you can just listen to the mantra if you don't know it, or you can chant it with me if you know the words. Take a deep inhalation for Om. I'll chant the mantra. Guru Brahma Vishnu Gurudevo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Tasmai Shri Gurave Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Take a deep breath in. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Join your palms together. Now begin to rub your palms together. Place the palms on your thighs. Very slowly while blinking, get the palms to your eyes. Big smile. Namaste. Om Shanti. Let us begin our session for today. So yesterday's session was an introductory session for what philosophy is. I told you yesterday that yoga and philosophy, these are two terms which are oceans in themselves. And yesterday we, understood what philosophy is. And then we reached to the point uh, which, the end point of all of our discussion was yoga, right? So this understanding philosophy, the various schools of philosophy, we finally reached to the school that we are going to discuss, the most relevant one for us, which is yoga philosophy. This philosophy, I told you yesterday, it's a part of the Indian philosophy system, right? And it is an orthodox philosophy. So you can watch yesterday's video as well, but this is just a short recap of yesterday's session. And by the end, we started discussing what yoga actually is, right? So I just gave some general examples and understanding of the term yoga. So today we are going to discuss the technical side of yoga, and we are going to look at the various definitions that have been given, and we are going to try to understand uh, what is the meaning with regard to our lives as well, right? Because the definition is there, but we also, in philosophy, implementation is equally important. So we need to see how it is showing up in our lives. So first thing, let's look at the word meaning only, right? The etymological meaning of the term yoga. So if you write the term yoga, right? In Sanskrit it is yoga, but when we translate it to English, a is added at the end of any term, right? So you read it as yoga, but actual pronunciation is yoga. So yoga, this term has been derived from the root term yuj, Y-U-J. Okay, so just write it down if you are making notes. Y-U-J, yuj, which means union, yoking, to join, any either of these terms you can write down. The meaning is the same. It's talking about the joining, the union, right? And yesterday I briefly discussed how, it's harmonizing everything. So in a very general understanding, we can say we are harmonizing according to the laws of the nature, right? And you can also say whenever there is a union that is happening, there are generally two things, right? Minimum two things. That is where the union will happen. If there is only one thing, uh, there is no scope of union, right? So there are two things which are causing the union to happen, right? So when you look at the technical term for this, so one is yourself, you can say, and then one is the universal energy, right? So some people call that God, but if you don't want to restrict yourself to just a particular name, or if you don't believe in God, at least you see the nature around you. So you can say that your union with the nature around you. Or if you don't believe in any God, but you think everything is driven by something greater than you, so you can say there is this universal energy. So there is a union between yourself and that universal energy, right? There is some harmonization, some union in two entities, right? Minimum two entities. Okay? So let's look at the, now we will look at the some other terms which will elaborate on the meaning of yoga. So there was this very great sage a lot of years back. So he wrote a text on grammar. So in his text, he also made an attempt to give a breakdown for the term yoga, and he gave three terms overall for yoga, okay, to understand the meaning of yoga, right? So first is, I will just say that so you can write it down. Okay? If you miss it, let me know. Okay. So first is um, Yog Sayamne, right? So sorry, Yuj Sayamne, right? So YUJSAMYAMNA. Yuj Sayamne, right? And in the bracket, you can write control or restraint. So the meaning of this term is control or restraint. Okay? Then he gave the next term and he said Yuj Samadho. So again, Yuj is same YUJ. Samadho is SAMADHAU. So this in the bracket you can write down. It is talking about the samadhi stage. SAMADHI. So SAMADHI, samadhi, right? And then finally he used the third term and he said Yujir Yoge. YUJIR, Yujir Yoge. YOGE. And this you can write down in bracket, it is union. So he used these three terms to describe
Sorry, what's the last one, Sumaji?
Yujir Yoge.
And what's in bracket? What?
Okay. Bracket union.
Union.
So he used these three terms to give a more holistic understanding of yoga, right? So he said that first thing that happens when you are undergoing the process of yoga, it is the restraint or constraint, right? So suppose you are attending this class, right? So right now you could have done 10 other things, but you have chosen to attend this class. So automatically, without you being consciously aware of it or not, there is some control that you have already gained over your senses. Why? Because you chose to join this class. So right now you could have listened to any other words, right, which might have been beneficial or harmful. You could have seen something which could have been beneficial or harmful, but you are here, your senses are somewhere controlled right now. When you are viewing this class, when you're trying to understand what yoga is. So first thing that comes in is the restraint or constraint, right? So first thing that will happen is you will begin to channel or you will begin to give direction to the to everything, in fact, right? It will start from the little things, and then you will see your thoughts are getting aligned in this way. So at so many levels, this thing starts to happen that everything gets aligned, because when you watch something, you think about it, or maybe it comes back in your mind. So again, now you are creating a different quality of thoughts when you attend this class instead of viewing something else in this time, right? So he said, first understanding of yoga is that it will channelize, all right? So it will control or restrain, provide that restraint. Then, as you stay in this stage, so suppose for the next 20-25 days you are attending these classes. So as you stay in this stage, you reach the next stage, which is samadhi, right? So when one even sits in meditation, they close their eyes, they try to cut off from all the external distractions, so they are controlling, and then they move to a point where it turns into absorption, right? So when you sit and do meditation, after a while you are absorbed, right? Completely absorbed. So he said the next stage that will come in from which you can know that okay, yoga is being practiced is the absorption. All right. So you will start something with the control, then it will turn into absorption, and this absorption will then turn into union, the third stage which he has described, Yujir Yogi, right? So then the stage of union will come in. But to give a more holistic understanding of the term yoga, he just didn't use the term union. He also used the other two terms, which are very, very important for the understanding of yoga. If you keep yourself distracted, there is no way in which you will ever be able to absorb yourself in a task, right? If you are constantly getting distracted, you won't get absorbed in whatever work you are doing. And if you are not absorbed in the work that you are doing, you will never feel that connection to that thing, right? The state of union will never come in. So he said all three of them are inevitable, right? They are going to come one stage, then another stage, then another stage, and they are leading you to the point of union only. But the remaining two are also very, very essential to understand yoga, because the union cannot happen without the other, right? So that is how he described yoga. In modern terms, we can understand again yoga as union between mind, body, breath. So generally speaking, to a common person, you can explain yoga in this way, that they will see the harmony between their breathing, their body movement, their thoughts. But in philosophy classes, of course, we are going to discuss the meaning more deeply and in a very, spiritual respect. We are going to discuss the meaning, right? So let's move to the other definitions of yoga that have been given, and these are very, very important. Okay, so these will clarify what you are doing and what you are aiming for. Okay, and these are official definitions. So, like you have proper textbooks for certain subjects. So, in the case of yoga, there are two very important texts that we are going to talk about, and those two texts are, one is the Patanjal Yoga Sutra. Okay, so Patanjal Patanjal Yoga Yoga, okay, and Sutras Sutras. We will have a separate class on this text also, but for today we are just going to pick the most relevant things from this text for the definition of yoga. Then the second very important text, which again we are going to have a separate class on it. It is the Bhagavad Gita. All right. So Bhagavad, Bhagavad, and then Gita is Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So these are two texts that are going to be very important in all of the upcoming classes, right? So in these texts, there are certain definitions of yoga that have been shared, and we are just going to try to understand what is going on, right? So the first most relevant definition for us is Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So I will spell this also, so don't worry. So this is from your Patanjali Yoga Sutra only, right? So you can write down, I will just give the spelling of each word, right? Yogas, Y-O-G-A-S-H, Yogas. Chitta, C-H-I-T-T-A. Then third term is vritti, V-R-I-T-T-I, vritti, and nirodha, N-I-R-O-D-H-A-H. So now this makes the entire verse yogas, chitta, vritti, nirodha, and when you end it, you can write down 1.2. And above that, you can write down PYS for your own understanding that this is the Patanjali Yoga Sutra from where this is coming. So short form is PYS 1.2. Okay. So the Yoga Sutras, they are having some chapters. So one refers to the first chapter. And when you put a point, then you write 2. So 2 refers to the second verse of the first chapter. All right. So when he just started the text in the second verse itself, he clarified the meaning of yoga, and he said this thing that before even you go into the process, you should know what you are aiming for, right? From the beginning only, he gives the proper definition of what yoga is. All right. So now I will give you the word by word meaning, and then we will write down the entire meaning. So yogas, this term means yoga is. Yoga is. So, or you can even write down yoga is, because yoga is just, the English pronunciation. Yoga is the actual pronunciation, right? So yoga is, what is it? Chitta. Chitta, you can write down mental field. Okay. Then vritti is, they are the fluctuations, modifications, fluctuations, any term that you like, you can use. It's signifying the same thing. And nirodh, this term, it means cessation. So now the entire meaning is coming out to be yoga is the cessation of the mental modifications. Right? Awesome. Great. So yoga is the cessation of the mental modifications. Right? So over here, 3 terms that we are going to discuss now are chitta, then vritti, and nirodha. These 3 terms are very important to understand. Yoga just means yoga is. So we are actually trying to understand that only. So through these 3 terms, you will understand. So let's come to the part chitta. Now in chitta, I have not made you write down mind. I have made you write down the literal meaning as the mental field, right? So chit is a combination of 3 subparts, and one of them is the mind. All right. So there are 3 components of chit. So you can write down chit separately, and then you can draw 3 lines, or you can write down 1, 2, 3, and you can just write down the 3 components that make up the chit. First is the manas, M-A-N-A-S. And in bracket, you can write down mind. Then second one is the buddhi, B-U-D-D-H-I, buddhi. And in bracket, you can write down intellect. And then third component is ahankar, AHAMA, KARA. And in the bracket, you can write down ego, right? Or I feeling. So generally what is happening is all three of them we feel they are one only, right? Because as soon as you have some experience, what happens? That experience you, so first component is the manas, right? So mind. So mind is the connection between your uh, senses and the inner processing, right? So there is one component of you which is processing what is happening, but that is not the mind. The mind is like the carrier of the information, right? So it is both external and internal in nature. It's acting as a tunnel, right? So whatever is happening outside you, suppose something is happening outside you, so your senses are perceiving that, and then the mind is carrying whatever has happened to an inner portion, right, for the processing of what has happened, right? So right now it will be very hard for you to like see this in a separate way, but if you experience something new in your life, then it will become this process because it will slow down, right? So first you keep observing, right? When something new happens, then you understand, okay, this is happening, or this is what it is, it means, or this is how it's making me feel, is it's good for me or it's bad for me. So right now, because of so many years, this process becomes so automated, we are not able to see the components separately, right? But the mind is just the component which is connected, which is forming the connection between the external and the internal world, you can say, right? So it's like the tunnel which is carrying all the information. So now when the information is carried, right, everything is happening around me, this information goes inside, and then I give a judgment on that thing. Suppose I there is a fire, right? And you know how when you are a child, all of these things are very fascinating, right? So you will immediately get attracted to that thing, will go towards it. And because it is so fascinating, you want to touch it, right? So as soon as you touch the fire, you feel the burning sensation, right? So now what happened? The sense it got in connection with something, and this information was very quickly passed on to the second component, which is buddhi or intellect. Okay, so now the intellect will give the decision. Oh, this is hurting me, right? Or oh, this burnt my skin, right? So the intellect comes with the decision on what has happened, and then you form a judgment on that thing. So next time, even though you will find the fire fascinating, you will not go and touch it. You might go near it, you might want to observe it more clearly, but you will not touch it because you have touched this experience. What is the judgment that has been given to you? That it is going to cause you pain, right? So now no matter where you see the fire, right, even on a gas stove, when you see that same thing, you will not touch it, right? So this is the decision making ability. And then the third component mixes itself, right, with this entire experience, which tells me that this is my experience, right? I touched the fire and it hurt me. Okay, so it's like a mixture of these three things which help me to make sense of any experience in my life, right? Anything that is happening around you. So today's task is this only, right? So today's task is whatever you encounter, see how these three components are coming into play, right? Because they are coming into play separately. But because it is such a fast processing, you are unable to, split them. So this will also help you to um, observe the thing more objectively, right? Because now you have broken down the process of observation, right? So you can choose something which you really like, one thing which you really like, and then one thing that you really dislike. And you can try to observe both of them and see the split that is happening, right? In what capacity, whatever capacity you can split your experience, you can go ahead and do that. But choose one thing you really like, choose one thing you really dislike. So it will show you how the components are working, right? So these three together form the chitta, right? So the mental field is a combination of three things, and these are the three things, and this is how they in a combined way function. But it is happening like, if you come to a very like deep stage of observation, it is taking some time for even a quick observation to happen, right? So any doubts so far, any questions? All right, great. So let's move to the next term, which is vritti. Again, very important for us. So this term vritti, this literally means circular, all right, or loop-like. So literal meaning of this term is circular. So, like you throw a stone in still water. So you see that the ripples are formed, right, in a circular manner. So vritti is something like that only, a very like pictorial understanding of vritti, right? So it is the fluctuation, something is basically thrown in the mental field, and that causes these ripples, these circular ripples, right? So you would have observed this thing in your day-to-day life also, that when when you are triggered to think of something, or maybe something around you happens which makes you think of a thing, right? You go in a loop of thoughts, right? We generally use this thing. We are going in a loop of thoughts, right? So that is why, vritti, this term was used, because you go in a circular fashion about the thoughts, right? Again and again, you will find yourself in the same loop of thoughts. So vritti is this loop which is getting formed, and it is the fluctuation, all right? And the mental field, it is very, very sensitive. Okay. So even if it gets a little bit of disturbance, there is constantly a fluctuation, right? So even slight disturbance will cause a fluctuation, right? So all the time in our lives, in a way, we are, perceiving the things with this blurry image. So have you ever seen, if you throw the stone in the pond, right, and this circular vritti type, pattern begins. So if you're trying to observe the moon, right, so moon gives a very good reflection if the water is still, right, and you throw a stone. So you will see that the moon begins to move, right, but it's not the actual image of the moon. If you really look up, you see the moon, it is still, it is stable, but the reflection of the image, because you threw a stone on it, it, distorts the actual image, right, of the thing that you are trying to observe. So constantly in our lives, what is happening, there is some disturbance that is caused, right, like that stone that is thrown in the mental field, right, in your chitta. And as a result, you are not able to observe the things as they are. You are able to observe the things as you are, right? Because you have a perspective, you have an understanding of something, and you view the object, you are unable to see the object as it is, right? So now let's come to the overall meaning. Last word is nirodh, right? Nirodh means cessation. Now, it is very important to understand this one thing. Most people, they view this cessation as a, you can say, effortful process, Okay. One thing is I'm working hard towards seizing something, right? And the other thing is it seizes. Okay. As a consequence of doing something else ceases to exist, right? Like right now you are attending this class, so all the other possibilities, because you are attending this class, they cease to exist, right? All the other things you could have done with your time. So one thing is you are, you know, applying a lot of force, and second thing is it happens. You know how some things just happen to us, right? It is effortless. So when Patanjali he described yoga, he said, what is the quality of the cessation, right? Through the process of yoga, it happens. You reach a stage where the cessation happens automatically, right? So this state, basically, yoga is not the asana practice, the pranayam practice, the meditation practice, but Patanjali described this stage where the modifications cease to exist on their own, right? Not out of force. Ho jana, right? In Hindi we say it, like I'm saying, it happens, right? So this final stage where there are no fluctuations in your mental field, that stage is yoga. Everything else you do is the process of yoga. Okay, asana, your pranayam, your shat karma practice, right? Mudras, everything. This is the process. Here you put in the work. Here you have to, uh, do the practice continuously with a lot of dedication. But the final stage has the quality of freedom in it, right? And yoga is that point where you are experiencing ultimate freedom only, right? You are free from all the burdens, you are free from all the sufferings, right? Of everything, right? You are completely free, right? Liberation, we use the term liberation. So we are liberating ourselves, right? So the final stage is called yoga, and this is a very automatic, effortless, freeing stage. All the other things are just your processes. So whatever you do in your classes, they are going to ensure that when you reach that stage, it happens, right? Sometimes you are practicing an asana for so long, and one fine day it happens for you, right? So something like that, but uh, much more advanced, right? So asana is just the beginning of the limbs. Later on, there are more limbs. So it's the advanced stage, but some things, this is a stage which occurs for you. You can strive for it, but at the end, you leave everything, right? Leave all the burdens behind. So this is what yoga is as per Patanjali, right? So let's look at the next meaning. So this was the longest one. So on this particular only one verse, you will find multiple commentaries and so long commentaries, right? So people try to, break this down in so many ways just to understand this one verse. So you can read other interpretations too. This was just a very basic interpretation, right? So let's talk about the next official definition. So this next definition is from Bhagavad Gita. So in short, you can write BG, right? When you write down the entire verse. So now this talking of the stage where the vrittis they cease to exist, it's very easily talked, but it is so hard to practice, right? So Bhagavad Gita, the definitions of Bhagavad Gita, they will give you the way to reach this natural stage, right? So when you open Bhagavad Gita, right, in the second chapter and 48th verse, right? So 2.48, and you can write down VG, right? So over there, a very beautiful definition of yoga has been shared, and the definition is samatvam yoga uchyate, right? So SAMATVAM, samatvam. Then yog, YOG, uchyate, UCHATYE. Samatvam Yog Uchate. Right? So Samatvam, I'll give the separate meaning. So Samatvam is equanimity or balance. Okay. Yog is yoga only, right? So what is yoga? He's telling that thing, that yoga, and then right now we have balance also, one word, and then uchate is happens, right? So yoga happens when there is balance, or you can also say in a very short, crisp line, equanimity or balance is yoga. Again, there is this very, this term uchate is again meaning it happens, right? So yoga happens when you are equanimous, right? So I will just explain this briefly today. Tomorrow I will elaborate on it more, right? But if you have entered yoga with this thing in mind that I will uh, attain happiness, right? So you are again going into towards one emotion, right? And the thing about these emotions are they are dual in nature. There is duality, right? So happiness is one side of the coin, and then sadness is the other side, right? So if you are having the target of attaining happiness, then again be prepared that you know the coin can flip right at any point of time, right? So there are certain dualities that are there in life. Okay, like if there is day, then there is going to be night. Yeah. And if you talk to very successful people, they will tell you that at one point of time they were highly unsuccessful also, right? So these are like currents of life. Okay. So there are so many dualities in life. If you are currently experiencing cold weather, then even the summers are going to come, right? So seasons also change, right? So like that, either you can, just get upset that, oh, it's too cold. And then when it gets warm, then also you will find yourself crying only because it's too warm, right? Or you can come to a stage where you are economist. Economity meaning you are observing, you are in a state, in a very fixed state, you are simply observing, seeing that whatever you are enjoying also, that's also going to go away. And whatever is making you suffer also, that will also go away, right? If one has come, then the second one will also come, right? So maintaining the balance in life is very important. When you start your yoga journey, I don't know about you, a lot of people in my life, they came and they said that now you're going to leave everything, no? I'm going to leave everything behind, right? This is extreme, right? Yoga says don't go into extremes. Maintain a balance. However, you are living your life, you have to maintain the balance. If you leave everything behind, you pack your bags, and one fine day you are like, I will go and sit on the mountains. It's not practical. We are not ready. And we have to fulfill our responsibilities. More than that, you know, you have a sense of responsibility towards yourself, towards your family, towards all the people around you. So unless and until you are not at that stage where you have to go into isolation, right? where we are not. We are right now just understanding, beginning on the journey, right? So a lot of people will come around you, they will tell you this thing, now you're practicing yoga, are you going to, completely cut off from everything? So no, maintaining the balance, society is giving you the perfect chance to, actually practice this balance. You require balance more than the yogi does, right? Because yogi will already seclude themselves from everything, right? They will remove most of their distractions, right? But you are existing in this society. You have to take care of so many people. You have to make sure that you live harmoniously in your family, right? That people around you, they are harmonious with you. You are harmonious with them. You have to take care of so many things. So you need yoga in your practical life much more than the yogi does, right? So what is the key? What is the secret? It is maintaining this balance, not going into extremes, right? So tomorrow I will elaborate more on this definition, and we will cover other definitions as well. Any doubts in today's session? Any questions? Any queries? All right. Oh, so tomorrow we are going to continue with this only. For now, we will close the session. So we are going to again chant one of the mantras, which is called Shanti Mantra. So if you know it, you can chant along with me. If you don't, you can just listen to it. And then we will sit for a while, just observe our breathing, and then we will close the session. Right? So let's just sit comfortably wherever we are, and keeping the back and neck straight, gently close the eyes. Just connect with the natural flow of your breathing. We will chant Om one time, followed by the mantra. Take a deep inhalation for Om. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Sarve santu niramaya. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukhabhag ma kaschit dukhabhag. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Feel the vibrations. Gently shift your focus back to your breathing and just observe the breath as it is. Just observing the reality of your current moment. If you feel your mind is wandering, become aware of this part and gently bring your attention back to your breath. Remaining aware and alert throughout this process. Gently suspend the practice, join your palms together and bow down. Just a sense of gratitude and respect. Begin to rub your palms together. Keep them on the eyes. And when you feel ready, very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, you will open up your eyes, coming back with a big smile on your face. Om Shanti and Namaste. I will see any questions, any.
No, thank you so much, Sumaji. So it's
Great.
nice. You sing so beautiful.
Thank you. It was very nice to see you, and I hope to see you in all these sessions.
Yes, I'm going to try my best to attend.
Yes.
Okay.
Get well soon. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, bye.